All right, so welcome once again to the Clear Admit Masters in Management event series. This is a series. We have an event today and tomorrow. We're going to talk over the course of these 2 days to 10 top Masters in Management programs in both the United States and Europe. I'm really excited to moderate these sessions. A tiny bit of info about me. My name is Graham. I'm the co-founder of Clear Admit. I'm going to moderate today's session and tomorrow's as well if you come back for that one. And that's probably all you really need to know about me because I'm mostly going to do my best to get out of the way and let us kind of hear from our panelists today. So let's do some intros. Let's maybe, we're still waiting on, one of our panelists is working on a video issue. So we'll just do intros in sort of reverse order here or jump over to get to, to Marina. So Marina, welcome. Marina Lant is the Director for Graduate and Executive Degree Programs Admissions at Georgetown University's McDonough School of Business. Marina, it's so great to have you back for one of these events. So thanks for making time.
Thanks for having me, Graham, and so excited to chat with all of you about our MiM program here at Georgetown.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to it. We're also going to hear today from Maria Reis. She is the Assistant Director for Recruitment and Business Development for the Masters in Management and Masters in Finance and MBA at INSEAD in Fontainebleau, but also with campuses in Singapore and, oh gosh, is it Abu Dhabi? I'm forgetting
Yes,
the
it
Middle
is
East.
Abu Dhabi,
Abu Dhabi, there you go.
Fontainebleau, which is about 40 minutes from Paris, Singapore, Abu Dhabi, and we also have an innovation center in San Francisco. So looking forward to your questions. Thanks for having
Yeah,
us.
it's great to have you. We're also going to hear today from Jenn Houder. She is the Director of Admissions at Johns Hopkins Carey Business School. Hi, Jenn. It's great to have you.
Hi, Graham. Thank you so much for having me. As a participant in previous Clear Admit events for the MBA, I'm just happy to be here to talk now about our new Masters in Management that's coming online for fall of 2026.
Yeah, so this is an inaugural season for you guys, which is great, and I can't wait to hear more
Yes.
about it. We're also going to hear from Julia Hoffert. She is the Director of Admissions and Recruitment for Ross's one-year master's programs, which obviously does include the Masters in Management. So welcome, Julia. It's great to have you back.
It's wonderful to be back, Graham and crew at Clear Admit. Thank you for inviting us and looking forward to chatting with everyone about these wonderful programs.
Yeah, no, me too. So we also have, and I know she's still kind of trying to get her video, but I'm going to introduce her anyway, just because I want to kind of keep us rolling along here. But we have Dunya Khoury-Schultz. She's the Assistant Director for Master's Admissions at Carnegie Mellon University's Tepper School of Business. And I don't know, Dunya, if you're here on audio and just not video yet, but welcome if you can hear me. Otherwise, we'll kind of move things along and come back to you once you get online and stuff.
Yes, thank you so much. And thank you for having me. I look forward to talking to everyone about our Masters in Management program, and hopefully we'll see you here in just a second.
Okay, sounds good. So what I suggest we do is I have a handful of kind of general questions, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip the first question and probably come back to it at the end because we'll wait for Dunya to get herself situated. So let's see. I think we need to advance, or did we already advance the slide one? Oops, wait. There we go. All right. So this question, I'm going to start with you, Marina, just so that we can come back to Dunya. Tell us a little bit about the curriculum for a master's in management. I think some people have a broad idea of like what a business degree is or even an MBA, but master's in management, like what are the subjects that would be part of the core? Are there any electives? And if so, like roughly what percentage of the course would be available for elective coursework? And then are there similarly like majors or specializations?
Yeah, great question. I am certain that other panelists will want to jump in after I give this brief overview because I think one of the things you'll learn as you explore master's in management programs is this can vary significantly through different universities. At Georgetown, our master's in management curriculum is patterned after the first year of our MBA. So what that means is you're going to get a foundation in a wide range of business areas. So you're going to take marketing, you're going to learn about operations, you're going to learn about leadership and communications courses. You're also going to learn R programming. You're going to take statistics courses. You're going to do accounting. You're going to learn consulting tools and skills. So we're trying to give you a breadth of knowledge in the business world. So for us at Georgetown, we only have one course. That's an elective course. The rest of the courses are a lockstep cohort model. So you take all of your courses with the same group of students over the 10 months of the program. And because of that, we don't have any majors or specializations. The flip side of that is that at Georgetown, because our curriculum is modeled so closely after the first year of our MBA, we offer a pathway for MIM graduates to come back and get their MBA after working for a couple of years, because you can essentially transfer those credits from our MIM program into our MBA program. So you really are getting a lot of the same things with a lot of the same faculty that you would get in the first year of the MBA program here at Georgetown.
Got it. And can I just get a show of hands from our other panelists? Raise your hand if you do have like majors or specializations within the Masters in Management. Okay. Oh, Jenn. Okay. So can you say just a word or two about what's available in that regard?
Yeah, absolutely. So our curriculum, 30 credits total, 22 of those are going to be the functional core, very similar to what Marina said. It is mirrored after our MBA curriculum. But you do have 8 credits credits per class. So 4 classes that can be part of an elective track. And we give 4 different options for that. You don't have to take part of an elective track, but we've essentially designed it so that you can choose and have a couple of choices within each of those if you wanted to go that route. So the 4 elective tracks are going to be AI for management, analytics for management, leadership, or entrepreneurship. And we've already bucketed a couple of electives that would count for each of those different elective tracks.
Okay, got it. So that's interesting to know. And I think it's an important distinction, just because I know while all of you here today, they're all Masters in Management programs that you're offering, but there are these nuances that we'll hear a lot more about as we get into this session, because each of you will get the floor for a bit to talk a bit more. Let's move on to the next question, though. And this one is for Maria at INSEAD. And this is kind of an interesting one, because I love to get the insight, into how the admissions team thinks about this. But what are you looking for when you pick up an application that someone submitted for Masters in Management? What are the characteristics of someone who's going to be competitive for a program like INSEAD's?
Yeah. So we're looking at candidates that have 0 to 2 years of work experience. Just like the MBAs, we look at their academic capacity, how well they've done in their undergrad degree, their GMAT or GRE scores. Then the next area has to do with their international motivation. So for us, because the program, is delivered in 2 different continents, in Europe and in Asia, so it's important that they know another language and that they have a global mindset. So if they've traveled or did a study abroad program, and it's not so much how much travel they have done. It's really looking at their global mindset. They're going to join a very diverse class. So it's important that they can thrive in that environment where everyone is from a different country. Everyone at INSEAD indeed has an accent. So we want to make sure that they can be successful in that environment. And then the other area is also looking what kinds of contributions they bring to the class in terms of extracurricular activities, whether they've any special interests, even things like, maybe they play an instrument, maybe they're the juggler for Cirque du Soleil. So it's also about, personal interests that makes diversity in the class. And then the final one is looking at maybe they had some internships, what kind of work experience they have, even if it's something that maybe they did during the summer internship, that's still relevant to their profile. So it's a combination of all those 4 things that when we look at their application, that we're evaluating.
Okay, terrific. Yeah, and I think this is one of the things I love about it. Feels like all of kind of graduate management education, whether it's a MIM or an MBA or the other different flavors that are out there, it does feel like such a holistic process, whether it's, looking at the academics, the experiences. So that's terrific. I want to now jump back because the first question we had, which was for Dunya, is a very broad question. So I thought we should tackle that now. Dunya, welcome. I'm glad you've got your video running. So this is a really basic question, but I thought it'd be, useful to kind of outline this, like what is a master's in management program? Now we've heard a little bit about like the subjects that make up the core and the evaluation process, but just stepping back a second, like who is this program for and like what is it?
Yeah, and thank you for the patience. It's a super snowy day here in Pittsburgh, and apparently my computer decided to join in on the delay fun there. But thank you, everyone. And so a master's in management program is really designed for students who are looking for foundational business understanding. So maybe not quite ready to jump into the MBA. It could be the first step to an MBA for our program. Typically students without a business undergrad, because a lot of the coursework might be a repeat of their business undergrad programs, but really giving that core foundational business understanding. And then I know some people were talking about different specializations. Our program does offer specializations, so it allows you to customize your master's in management program a little bit more and dive deeper into marketing, finance, strategy, operations, or entrepreneurship.
Okay. Yeah. No, appreciate you kind of shedding light on that. And I do think it's an interesting, I guess I'd love to get a show of hands. Do any of you not allow business undergraduates to apply for the MIM? So Julia at Michigan is raising her hand. But I mean, just to Junia's point, like, yeah, I feel like in many cases, these degrees are, very well suited to someone who hasn't had a ton of exposure to business subjects and who maybe wants that exposure as they kind of look for that initial kind of job post education. And so it's a great kind of stepping stone into the workforce. Go ahead,
And I
Dunya.
just wanted to add too that it's typically for students with 0 to 3 years of work experience. So coming right out of undergrad is pretty common. Maybe working for a year or two and realizing I want those foundational skills and coming back to graduate school for that as well.
Yeah, and that's a great point because if you look at MBA programs, the average amount of work experience at a top MBA program, like at any of these schools here, is usually like 5 years or it's certainly a number of years. So this is where the MIM kind of fits into that space where right out of undergrad or shortly thereafter with just a little bit of work experience, you can add some key tools. All right, let's jump forward now to Jenn. Jenn, this question is an interesting one too. This is about like the leadership skills or professional skills that people develop during a MIM program. And I'm just wondering, like, how does the school, in your case, Carey at Johns Hopkins, how do you guys help students translate these skills into like practical, workplace skills? Oh, you're on mute.
Thank you. It's a great question. I think not only having a comprehensive curriculum that gives you skills in different areas of business and management, it's really about focusing on having students applying their learning in a spectrum of real life business contexts and ultimately ensuring that they are fully ready for the workplace. And so much of that is about the leadership and the soft skill development with the MIM. So there's going to be a huge emphasis on communication, teamwork, cultural awareness, and ethical decision making. We, very closely align our curriculum to the job forecasting, looking at what real world skills employers are looking for. And that changes so quickly over time. So we are rapidly evolving the curriculum. And that's why we have the 4 specializations that we do. But woven into all of that is really going to be the soft skill development and allowing our students to have that real world hands-on experience, working in teams on presentations, collaboration, really just developing that critical teamwork skills, the critical thinking. These are types of skills that can be applied in any type of job. So really just teaching our students how to think critically and analyze information, and make those data-driven decisions. And then in terms of, the second part of the question, how do we do that throughout the program? It's not just in the classroom, but our career and life design team, our employer relations team, they are really making sure that they are, building a professional community within the entire Johns Hopkins ecosystem, to build upon those, skills and interests, having personalized one-on-one support from the professional career coaches, and just, working with peer career advisors, just different ways that the career preparation is woven into the fabric of the overall academic experience.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks for that. That makes a lot of sense. The last kind of general question I have is for Julia at University of Michigan Ross. And this is kind of a good follow on from what Jenn was just talking about. And this is a basic question about like, where do MiM grads usually go? What types of jobs are they taking, and anything you can elaborate on there?
Sure. So it's always funny to say kind of an idea of where they thought they were going to go when they started the program versus perhaps where they land. I would say that probably the bulk of us in reading the essays about why somebody wants to do this program, probably 95% of them say consulting. And that is certainly an area that people land in for this particular degree program. But a good portion of our graduates also go into marketing or sales along with that. And then if I were to sort of say the top three, I would say consulting, marketing, sales, and then the elusive other. And the reason for that in some part derives from the fact that the students coming into these programs, for us specifically, they are not business background degree majors. I might have a nurse in the mix. I might have somebody who's thinking about going to get their JD in law school, but wants to build this foundational business core skill set. So the other encompasses a very wide range of types of jobs that people are doing. I'm thinking of somebody recently who was a viola performance major for undergrad, did this degree and is now running a summer arts program. So there's so many different avenues that these students can fit in. Consulting, marketing at the top, other. Then we talk about like analytics, business data analytics, some supply chain operations, as well as general management and finance. And all of those things are through the course of a program, but also to what Jenn was speaking about, through the course of working with the career development office of your respective school and really leveraging that resource to the fullest extent possible.
Yeah, I was just thinking about how when you talk about other, I think part of it is because the degree itself is so versatile, and people can do so many different things. I mean, just thinking about this woman running the arts program, everything in the world has, all these organizations in any domain or discipline, they require management. And so it's kind of a jack of all trades sort of skill. And that's what I think is also, it's what's so great about it. It's unlike if you go to, say, law school or medical school, you kind of know what you're going to do. You sort of get one qualification to do sort of one thing. Whereas Masters in Management or any of these management programs are incredibly versatile, and you find people in management at museums as much as you find them in management in, financial services firms, right? So, all right, so let's move on. We have this next segment that I wanted to do. I wanted to give each of our panelists a little bit of time to just give us some of the basics. So we'll go alphabetically, and we'll start with Dunya at Carnegie, Mellon, Tepper. And all I want to know, just in brief, basically, is like who's eligible to apply to this degree program. We heard from some schools, oh, you can't be a business undergrad, or in some cases, some schools are open to international students, some schools are domestic only. So that kind of thing. And then just highlight something about the program that you think is a real a kind of selling point. And then if there's anything you can add about career coaching, and in particular, like where the recruiting process sort of fits in this kind of often tight timeline.
Yeah, absolutely. So students with 0 to 3 years of work experience coming right out of undergrad are eligible to apply. Any background, there are just a few things you want to pay attention to in the application if you're coming from a liberal arts background versus from a more quant heavy background in terms of the testing portion. In my opinion, the highlight, it's really nice that our MSM students are in class with MBA students. And so they're able to kind of learn from maybe where they want to go next. They're getting a lot of those core courses already, a lot of the same experiences, same faculty, things like that, and really just the opportunities are very wide in terms of who they're getting to network and recruit with and meet along the way. And then the career coaching is absolutely amazing. We have a master's career center, and students are paired one-on-one with a career coach once they're accepted into the program. So before even stepping foot in Pittsburgh, they're working with that one-on-one career coach to kind of understand where they've been, what their hopes are short-term and long-term, and then what that recruiting will look like for them throughout the process. There are different career fairs, networking opportunities, coffee chats, different companies coming to campus. So a lot of different processes that are taking place alongside the academics. And we really encourage students to kind of stay on top of those. So it fits with the program from day one all the way through and beyond graduation to help them kind of reach their next steps in career goals.
Yeah, I do. I will say, I mean, I love that idea that even before you matriculate and show up on campus, you've potentially, you know, if you've accepted the offer, you have access to the career coaching function. That seems really important in a shorter program, and also for younger individuals who are really still trying to figure out maybe exactly what direction they're going to head off in. So yeah, thanks for shedding light on all that. Let's turn to Marina. Yeah, let's turn to Marina at Georgetown. Same assignment for you, Marina. Just want to know, you know, who's eligible, what's a highlight, and a little bit about the career function, if you could.
Definitely. So it sounds like very similar to Carnegie Mellon. Our MiM program is designed for students with between 0 and 3 years of postgraduate full-time professional experience. And typically about 50% of our cohort comes to us directly after graduation from an undergraduate degree, and about 50% with between those 1 and 3 years of full-time work experience. We accept students from any academic background, so it does not matter what your undergraduate major is, but I would also echo that if you didn't have a lot of quant in your undergraduate major, reach out to us and we can talk about some other ways you can demonstrate your readiness for our curriculum that has a technology and innovation focus, so you'll definitely get some of that quant. The highlight of our MiM program, I hear it every single year from students, is our global business experience, which is a real global consulting project that our students complete in the spring semester. As part of the project, students travel for 1 week in mid-March to an international location where their client is based. This past year, our students went to Singapore, Dublin, or Buenos Aires. And so it's a really great opportunity to flex some of your consulting muscles, implement a lot of the skills you've been learning through the program, and it very much is a capstone type experience for our MiM students, and it is the highlight every year for our students, I would say, across the board. In terms of career coaching, our career focus in MiM is really woven throughout the curriculum. We have a dedicated senior director of MiM Career Services. Her name is Karen Kwagu. She's lovely. She's worked with the MiM program almost since its inception at Georgetown. And so she's dedicated to MiM students, but she has a whole careers team behind her as well. Our careers team starts working with incoming students over the summer, typically mid-May, so before you arrive in DC for the first day of class. And we created that summer curriculum especially for students who are interested in really early recruiting deadlines for fall recruiting for a lot of typically consulting firms. But our students really start the recruitment process at any point that they feel ready. You can start over the summer, you can wait until the spring semester, you can wait until 2 weeks before graduation if you really want to. It's all about sort of what timeline makes the most sense with you, though I generally encourage students to engage with our careers team as early as possible. And then once you're in the program, students generally don't have classes on Fridays. Those are really reserved for career focus days. So lots of different career events and workshops, companies coming to campus, opportunities to go off campus. We're located right in downtown DC. So there's tons of accessibility to private, government, nonprofit organizations, all based right downtown in Washington, D.C. So it really happens throughout the program, and it's very much a one-on-one process with Karen and the careers team and the MBA peer mentors. And the timeline is the timeline that you want it to be on, though, as I always say, earlier is generally better on the career side.
Yeah, I would definitely put in a vote for, you know, if you get into one of these programs, if you're fortunate to get in, definitely take advantage of access you have to the career coaching, you know, as soon as you can, right? Because it'll just help you to land more on your feet. All right, let's turn to Maria at INSEAD. Yeah, Maria, same assignment for you. Let's go through these questions.
Okay, very good. So for us, it's anyone that doesn't matter what major but the requirement is that they have an undergrad degree. Usually we're looking at profiles that have 0 to 2 years of work experience. I would say the highlight of the MiM program at INSEAD is the opportunity to study in 2 different continents. So they'll spend the first 4 months of the program here in Europe, and then the class moves together to Singapore to finish there. And then they also have optional trips to spend some time in our Abu Dhabi campus and also to spend some time in our San Francisco Innovation Center. So those are optional trips, but the entire class moves together from Europe to Singapore. And then when it comes to the career development, it's really happening in parallel to the academic period. So everyone has a career coach that is getting them ready to meet with potential employers. So at the end of the program, if you didn't find a job, then you have the option to do an internship between 4 and 6 months. So this program is really designed for individuals to prepare them for functional roles, but in an international setting. So when they come in, if they're looking to start an international career, which we know it's not that easy just out of undergrad, but if you join a global program that really gives you a network of global employers and alumni, then that opportunity really goes up, and the potential to get a job in an international setting is a real possibility. So it's a program designed for individuals with limited work experience. For those that have a little bit of work experience, either through an internship or even just out of undergrad, they had maybe the opportunity to work for a year, then usually they have a little bit more opportunity for potential jobs. But in general, they're functional roles. They're not strategic roles like the MBA students. So to give you an example, let's say that BCG comes to INSEAD to recruit MBA students and MiM students. Typically, the MBA students will be recruited for strategic roles where they have decision making. Maybe they're trying to make decisions on the scope of the project with the client. As the MiM student, they will be managing the project and being in charge of the deliverables of the project. So those would be the main difference between kind of understanding what types of jobs are available for the MIMs versus the MBAs. But the employers at INSEAD would be the same for both programs.
Okay. Yeah, and I think we have a question a little bit about that later too, so we may want to ask more about that. But I do think one thing I wanted to clarify, a number of you have been talking about, right out of undergrad being eligible for these programs, or 0 to 2 or sometimes 0 to 3 years of work experience. And I just want to be clear that when we say that, I believe what we mean is 0 to 2 or 3 years of full-time work experience. So it's not like you're adding up you're not adding up like, oh, I did a summer here, a summer there, that adds up to a year. No, it's really full-time. Yeah. So, all right, well, excellent.
Babysitting does not count.
No. Excellent. All right, let's turn to Jenn at Johns Hopkins Carey. Same assignment for you, Jenn.
All right. Very similar answer to the first in terms of who is eligible, early career candidates. We are really looking for students from any background. Not to say that if you have done a business minor or have taken some business classes, you are more than welcome to apply. I think if you have done your entire undergrad as a business major, it probably would not be the best fit, but really looking for a diverse population of students, both domestic and international, to apply. One of the highlights in building our new MiM program is going to be an international residency. So our students in the spring of 2027, our first group will go to Paris, France for a week, where they will be working with some other business schools, local, and really focused on strategic brand management. So not only taking in the, sights and sounds and the culture of the city, but really an opportunity to gain a global perspective of business. This is something that will be woven in throughout the entire curriculum, but really just looking at the strategy and how, the EU's market structure has played a role in developing their strategy and formulation. So very excited about that. And then the last piece, I've already touched on it a bit, but our career and life design team, first and foremost, I want to highlight the fact that it really is a holistic approach to not just the career side of things, but really preparing you for life in general and thinking about a student's goals and what they want to do overall and how they'll be fulfilled for their whole life, not just in their career. But they'll work with you from day one, starting at orientation. You will have a personalized career coach. You'll also have the opportunity to work with our peer mentors and just a number of resources that are available to you, different employers coming onto campus, virtual resources and workshops, our alumni network. You not only have the Carey network, but you have the entire Johns Hopkins ecosystem at your disposal. So it will be throughout the entire process, even starting right when you are admitted as well.
Terrific. Yeah. And I think that sounds like a lot of fun, the international piece to it. And so I did have a question. So this is going to be the inaugural class. Do you have a sense as to what size the class is that you're trying to get for this first class next fall?
We're looking to have it be a cohort model. So similar to our other specialized master's programs, looking to have, a cohort typically being about 45 students. So
yeah. Okay.
That's our
All
goal for the inaugural year. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Good to know. Yeah. Just thinking about that group getting over to get that international experience together sounds like fun. All right. Let's turn finally, Julia, thanks for being patient. Cause your M is the last letter in the alphabet for the schools with us today. But tell us a little bit about, who can apply and a highlight, et cetera.
Sure. Some of this will sound duplicative from what you've already heard. Some of it will have certain variations on the theme. So in terms of question one of who is eligible to apply, we are a program that for the Master of Management, we say you cannot have a business degree, full stop. And that is due to the curriculum and concerns of it being too repetitive from what you've also probably done in your BBA or Bachelor of Commerce type of degree in your undergrad. So that's sort of step one. Degree is anything but business. And then in terms of work experience, we will consider candidates who have 0 to 2 years of work experience post-undergrad. So also that pre-experience candidate is how we call it. In my opinion, I'm going to highlight something and I'm going to throw out another one if I'm allowed to, Graham. I feel like since I'm last, I get to say two things. So the one highlight that I'd first like to start with is the consulting studio. And that is it is a course, and similar to what's been expressed here before, it is in some ways a capstone. And it is a project where the Office of Action-Based Learning here at Ross sources a variety of companies to bring projects or issues that they would like our students to understand and to work on very directly, both with each other and with that particular company. And those companies are all over the United States and also sometimes international as well. And that lasts the entire winter semester. So that really is a semester-long course that is designed to take everything that you've been learning from the summer and the fall and also concurrently in the winter and put that in a very real space. The second little tangential thing I would say is that each of our schools are going to have different characteristics, actual building characteristics based off of where we're located and what our structure's like. And I think one of the things that's really unique and wonderful for Ross students is the actual structure of Ross. When Stephen Ross made the big donation and when this building was conceptualized and built, it was very specifically designed to really bring students into a space that feels like a large corporation or business, so that students feel that they are in that kind of space and are able to behave and understand that kind of space. And I think how students will feel in each city or town of the schools that they're looking at, as well as the actual structure itself, can be distinctive and interesting to know about. How does the career coach functioning work in our program, and where does this process fit? Very similar to what others have stated before. It starts before you start the program. So the career development office is staffed with career coaches. Students will have one-on-one time with their career coaches, but before they actually begin the program itself, they will do a launch appointment. Time with a career coach to understand what it is that they're hoping to potentially go into, also to get a temperature of what to expect and what types of resources and things will be available to them from the career development office while they are in the program. Then the rest of it is sprinkled throughout. And what I would say about our career development office and about this resource is that there are some elements that are required. However, I would say the bulk of it is really self-selecting to use this resource. And as much as possible, please use this resource. Use it as much as you possibly can, because it is a spectacular, well thought out, intentional resource that, frankly, I think if we were to look at other schools that are not schools of business, that they should model them off of our career development offices, because business schools do it really, really well. So I would say the recruiting process is both built in before the program, throughout the program, but it does require the self-selection into it as well.
Got it. All right. Yeah. Thanks for shedding light. And yes, you get 2 because you had to wait for the end. So I have no problem, no problem with that. But I think it is interesting. It does feel like across all of our programs today that we're talking with, there are all these really interesting kind of experiential moments where, whether you're moving campuses or you're traveling to a new country or dealing with a project. And I think that's, we just learn more and more pedagogically that is so important to have these experiences together as a cohort and to be out there kind of in the workforce, essentially, kind of putting to use the stuff that you're learning in the classroom in a really, fast-paced environment. So appreciate you guys all elaborating. The next thing I have a series of questions that we actually gathered from folks who've signed up to join us. So these are like real questions about the degree that people had. And this first one I'm going to give to Dunya. And this is, it's a classic. How do I decide between master's in management, a deferred MBA, which I believe Tepper does offer as well, or a traditional MBA? So what would you say to this? This is kind of an interesting question.
Yeah, and this is a great question and absolutely something that I think a lot of students are thinking about. So I think the biggest key here is your undergrad major. Typically, I'll speak for Tepper. A deferred MBA is only offered to students who have a business undergrad. And so you can't really get or apply for a deferred MBA without that. And so that automatically will kind of determine if that's the right path for you or not. You apply as a junior or senior, and then essentially you're saving your spot for an MBA down the line after getting a few years of work experience. A traditional MBA along the same line requires a handful of years of work experience. So if you are not coming in with somewhere between at least 3 and 8 years of work experience, that's typically not the route for you. And then the master's in management is a little more broad and flexible in terms of coming right out of undergrad, having any kind of undergrad degree, and just really wanting those foundational business skills. So while they all offer those foundational business skills and the opportunity to level up within business, just really understanding what your background is and then what the school you're looking at, what the eligibility is for each of those programs is really important.
Yeah, well said. And I think, one thing that I'll just add is I think the deferred MBA, I think it sort of varies from school to school as to what the kind of rules are there. But I think the key difference that you're underlining is that master's in management is kind of now. You could pursue it. Like if you're graduating this year, you can be applying for master's in management and start next fall. Or even if you're out there working and you have less than, a couple, 2-3 years of experience or less, it's available to you, and it's available to all backgrounds, and so that seems what makes it so flexible and appealing. Whereas, to do a deferred MBA or even a regular MBA, which are, by the way, the same exact degree, it's just the timing is different in terms of when you apply. Either way, you've got to have a lot of experience, and you typically have to have demonstrated some pretty good quantitative skills, et cetera, either in your testing or additional coursework. So it's a little bit different. Let's turn to Marina at Georgetown McDonough. We have a question for you. This one, let's see. This one says, should I use professors for letters of recommendation, or could I also use someone from a summer internship? And I think this raises a really important question because, a lot of people applying for a MiM, they maybe haven't had a ton of experience, maybe just summer internships, but they're also knowing, oh, this is business school. Don't I need to have like a professional recommendation? And wouldn't it be weird to have a professor? So what's the advice you give to someone here?
Yeah, that's a great question. And actually, before I answer it, I just wanted to add something onto the previous question about the MIM versus the MBA. I know a number of
Please.
schools here today have MIM to MBA pathways. Georgetown certainly does. So I also think the answer can be you don't have to choose. You do a MIM now, you get the salary bump, you get the career support, you get those skills, you work for a couple of years, and then you come back and get that MBA. So I think that's a great option for a lot of students.
And yeah, that is a great point. And also, I think one of the key things is that when you do come back, you only have 1 year to do it. So you don't have a 2-year, with the exception of INSEAD, all the MBA programs with us today, all the programs that offer an MBA, it's a 2-year program. Whereas if you go MIM to MBA, it's just adding an additional year. So that's a really good point. All right. But now to our question, who should write these letters of recommendation?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think the overarching advice that I give to students about letters of recommendation is we care less about the title of the person who writes your letter of recommendation and more about the content of what they write. You should choose someone who knows you well and can speak in detail to your work or academic performance as they have directly witnessed it. So a classic example I use is if you were an intern and you never interacted with the CEO, don't ask them to write your letter of recommendation. They don't know anything about you. You want to ask someone who knows you well and can give you a detailed, strong, positive recommendation to the admissions committee. So for Georgetown, we require at least 1 letter of recommendation, but you can submit up to 2. So I generally recommend 1 academic and 1 professional letter of recommendation because I think it gives a really well-rounded view of you as a candidate from multiple perspectives. But if you only have 1 or you're not sure of what makes the most sense, again, choose the person who knows you best and who can speak in detail to your work or your academic performance. We have no preference between a professional or an academic letter of recommendation because we expect you to exist in both of those realms as sort of Georgetown. A big thing for us is cura personalis and care of the whole person. We expect you to exist as a whole person, professionally and academically and personally in the program.
Okay, yeah, terrific. And I think sometimes there's that temptation to go out and try to find a letter of recommendation from someone who's like, tied to a business school or has like a really senior title or, and as you point out, that's not really what's going to do it. It's whether the person knows you well and can speak to your capacities. So again, I guess just quick show of hands, does everyone in the panel today allow for both academic and professional letters in the recommendations piece? I see some nodding heads. Yeah. Okay. Everyone does. All right. Good. All right. Next question we have is for Maria at INSEAD. And this is an interesting, and you started touching on this earlier, I think, but this is a question about like, when I do the MIM, when I'm looking for work, am I viewed as like an MBA grad or a college student or somewhere in between? And, you started to talk about BCG and the roles that they have and how it's different. But if you could just elaborate, like, am I somewhere in between? I'm presuming I'm better than a college student if I have this nice degree, but I'm probably not an MBA.
Yeah, it all depends on your exposure to full-time work. There are MIMS students that already did an internships, maybe that had a full year of work experience, and relevant work experience will matter when it comes to interviewing with employers. So you're not going to be considered as an undergrad student. And with our program, you actually have an opportunity to travel the world, to do practicals, to do internships. So you're going to have quite a bit of exposure internationally if you're looking for an international career. But you're not going to be viewed as an MBA because you have limited work experience. The example that I gave before about BCG, which is, and it could be any other employer that comes to INSEAD to recruit both MBAs and MIMs, they're going to be more looking to fill functional roles, whether it's in consulting or finance or tech, as the MBAs are always going to be, and also depends on their work experience, because if you are an MBA and you have 3 years, 4 years of work experience, but the MBAs are typically they're going to be targeting roles that are more strategic, where they have a lot of decision making. So from that standpoint, it's quite different. But no, I don't think the firms that are looking to hire MIMs at INSEAD are looking at them as a college student.
Yeah, I feel that way. And I also would just add that I think that, obviously we all know that the economy and things like AI are making things sort of challenging and that there are all these kind of new opportunities, but also challenges. And I would think that having this kind of degree in your back pocket and the leadership skills and the critical thinking skills that come with it would be a huge asset when you're competing with others out there in the workforce. So, yeah.
Graham, I just want to add something that I think it's that we're hearing from employers too, that it's not so much the technical. Obviously, the curriculum is really important because it's giving you the foundation of, business classes, core business classes. But I think what's more important, both for the MIM and the MBAs, is really the leadership types of skills, communication that candidates are getting these days, because the technical stuff, most people will be able to get it eventually. But I think the people skills that you gain through the MIM or the MBA is really what employers are looking for. The majority of the time, yes, they know you can handle the technical part, but the experience of having in class with individuals from all over the world and different types of already professional and personal experience, that really adds to your your added value that you bring to employers.
Yeah, I could not agree more. That's really well said. All right, let's turn to Jenn. We have another question. This one is about the admissions process and extracurriculars. So it's really interesting. This person's like, wow, I studied hard. So I presume that means they have really good grades. And they also have had some great summer internships, but they haven't done a ton of leadership on campus when it comes to extracurriculars. And they're wondering, like, what's the mix here? Like how important is that compared to, say, the grades or the test scores or the summer work?
Right. This is a great question and something that we hear quite a bit from candidates. And it's not always that they're missing the extracurriculars. There's always one aspect of an application that students tend to be concerned with. And what we really want all of our applicants to realize is that each aspect of the application plays a unique role. There's a reason that we ask for each of these pieces, but they all fit together, and it's about finding a balance among them, because you might not have, all of the things all at once, and that's absolutely fine. We are looking at the entire application to see your potential. A lot of our job is about forecasting how you will do in the future and using pieces of your application to determine that. So if you feel like you have excelled in your studies and you've had really enriching summer internships, and these are very valuable, that can, in a lot of cases, outweigh a lack of extensive leadership in extracurriculars. But it's really important to present your narrative effectively through the application, highlighting your experiences, both academic and personal, and really highlight how they've shaped your skills and aspirations. If you are concerned about, the perceived lack of leadership in your extracurriculars, think about how you can frame your experiences in a way that illustrates the qualities that we would be looking for in those leadership positions. So initiative, teamwork, resilience. You don't need a formal leadership position to necessarily demonstrate that. So find ways to talk about group projects or volunteer work or engagement in other activities that can demonstrate your abilities and potential as a leader. Really, at the end of the day, we're looking for well-rounded individuals. So don't feel like you have to check off all of the boxes. Just think about presenting a cohesive story that really showcases your strengths, experiences, and what you can bring to the community.
Yeah, that really, really well said. I think one thing that comes to my mind is I feel like sometimes applicants, and I don't know if it's the case with this person who put in the question, but sometimes people sell themselves a bit short. They're active on campus, but you notice this person says not a lot of leadership, but they might be really active in a number of organizations, and that is worth something. They may be getting a lot of fulfillment out of that, and maybe they were a leader in their summer job anyway. So, yeah, as you point out, like it's a question of yeah, just showcasing your strengths and sharing all the different things you do. And it doesn't all have to be a home run. There's a whole bunch of different components that go into this. So, yeah, thanks, Jenn, so much for shedding light on that. Jenn, we have a question. Sorry, Julia, we have a question for you. This one is interesting. And it's one that I can't wait to hear the answer to, actually. What is life like outside of the classroom during a MIM? Is it like undergrad where there are all these clubs and conferences and events and social things? Or is it very formal and sort of serious and career focused?
So I don't mean to be flippant, but I'm going to answer it yes and yes. And we're going to do it that way. Because there are elements that are students can be social with one another. It's a small cohort model. It is very understandable that students would get to know one another and ultimately decide to potentially socialize with one another and enjoy time together outside of the classroom environment. There are a myriad of opportunities at the school in the form of events that are not just social, in terms of things like a case competition or a leadership conference or those types of professional development events, which still have social components to it as well. Formal and serious career focused. I'm presuming that everyone who's coming to this type of program has a level of sincerity, and perhaps that can come across as serious when it comes to finding their path. And I think that's just the nature of a graduate program versus an undergraduate program overall, and also the context of 1 year. People coming into this program, it's very short, relatively speaking, in duration. And so there is that sense of focus, but I think there is fun to it. And I think that that's part of the joy of it. We are, part of the joy of all of work is getting to know the people that you work with and having relationships and collaborations that sometimes expand beyond just the work itself. So the other part I would say is all of this is self-selection, much like I was mentioning before about the career development piece of it. You don't have to socialize. You don't have to do that if you don't want to, but I think you'd be missing out. I think one of the things that students talk about, in addition to their program curriculum and whatnot, the piece that they love the most about the experience are the people that they did the experience with. So I would encourage students to find a good balance between what they feel will grow them as a person and a professional person, but also what will grow them in their experience as a person and networking with people that will likely be their colleagues and peers one day.
Yeah, another thing that I think about a lot is, you're coming to a college campus or university campus for these programs. And so by virtue, you're in an environment where there's almost always, something on offer. Even I imagine with many of you, even across schools, like across, the business school to the undergraduate, the law school, whatever other or degrees you're offering, there's a lot of mingling, and it sounds like actually in some instances, I think it was Dunya was talking about how you might be in a classroom with students from the MBA or from another specialized master's in business, or there might even be somebody from the law school who's popped in to take a class, or so there are all these opportunities to meet new people, and you're in a kind of college or university environment, which is always special, in my opinion. I remember personally being surprised when I went to business school. I'd been in the workforce for a bit. I went to business school and I was thinking it was going to be very formal and go to class, get your job kind of thing, and it was really all the trappings of the undergraduate experience were still there in terms of, if you wanted to be in the wine and cheese club, you could be in that club. If you wanted to be in the pre-professional clubs, like working on cases for consulting jobs, that was there too. So yeah, a lot of things on offer, and that's what makes this special, in my view. I think, let me see. Oh, we have a slide. I think we have a slide. Yeah. So you all have many deadlines, and the reason we included the earlier deadlines, even though, some of these have passed, is I'm assuming there might be at least one or two juniors with us today who are kind of thinking through an application for next year. So all the deadlines are here. I did want to ask a question, like, you have all these different deadlines. Am I penalized if I'm not applying? Like, if I'm a senior at college right now, or even someone out in the workforce, and I'm looking at this saying, "Oh, I missed that October deadline." I might be like, when do the bulk of the apps come in? Is there, I mean, are there still spaces available if I'm applying in January, March, or even May or April, depending on which school we're talking about? Does anyone want to just raise your hand, or
Yes.
yeah, Julia, you're gonna.
Yes.
Oh, everyone say something about this. All right, let's start with Maria.
Yes, apply when you're ready. At INSEAD, we have spots at every round. The reason we have different deadlines is because maybe you took the GMAT or the GRE and you didn't quite get the score you wanted to be ready on round 1. So now you still have round 2, 3, and 4. So apply when you're ready.
Okay. Julia, you were going to say something too?
Similar to what Maria just said, but I would also add, we publish on our website when you will find out the decision for each round, but also if you are admitted, when you would have to let us know if you are coming to the program or not. And the reason why I want to highlight that is if you are applying to multiple programs, which I would imagine you are, please time that accordingly, because we cannot, offer long enrollment deposit deadline extensions, and that's why we publish those deadlines. So that kind of goes along the idea of what Maria said: apply when you're ready, but also try to time it for your other applications as well.
Okay. Any other, Marina? You were going to say something? Yeah.
Yeah, slightly different answer for Georgetown. So you are welcome to apply in at a deadline that makes the most sense for you, but there will always be more seats available and more scholarship funding available the earlier you apply. We consider all of our applicants for scholarship automatically. There's nothing additional you need to do. The flip side of that is if you're applying for our final rolling deadline in June, there will be less scholarship funding available than if you had applied in our next deadline in January. The other thing that I also tell students is that if you anticipate needing a student visa to study in the program, we strongly, strongly, strongly recommend you apply no later than our March 20th deadline, and that's to give you enough time to go through that visa application process. You can apply later, but we really strongly recommend that you don't apply any later than that March deadline.
Okay. Yeah. Terrific. I did see a question just popped up, and I'm going to go off script because it's a pretty good question. Shirley's just asking, like, should I apply now as an undergrad, or should I go out and get like 1 or 2 years of experience first? And because I know that, in all cases, you are accepting some people who are, have a little bit of experience. I don't know if Jenn, do you have a point of view on that?
I think it comes down to personal preference of what is going to be best for you. If you have a job offer and you are really excited about it, take it, come back, in a couple of years at the MiM or an MBA. But if you are a little bit more unsure about what's next for you and you feel like this could, benefit you and open you up to some new opportunities and, build upon your existing skill set, then go ahead and apply now.
Yeah. That's a really good point. I mean, I guess another thing would be, I guess somebody could apply and see, then make the choice, push the choice down the road a little bit, apply, see if you get in, and if you have a job offer as well, and then you could weigh those two. Dunya, did you have any thoughts on this one? I wanted to give you a chance to say something in case you had.
I just wanted to add something actually about the application deadlines. International students, the last deadline for that application is March 4th, just given visa timelines. We want to make sure that everyone can get here on time. But I would just echo what Jenn was saying in terms of personal preference regarding if you're going to go to school or go to work first. I would totally be the person to time it out and say apply to both, see what works, and then kind of feel out my options depending on what I got into. Just because I feel, it's personal preference, but also weigh your options. It doesn't hurt right now. It's still early.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right. So what I wanted to do now is just thank each of you sincerely, Julia, Maria, Marina, Dunya, and Jenn. Thank you so much for all your time today. I see we do have some other questions popping up, but we are at the top of the hour, and I want to just encourage those folks with questions to just shoot an email over to any of the schools that you're interested in. All of them have on their websites an admissions email address that you can use, that you can write to them if you have another question, or join an event that, all of you do your individual events as well. If they have questions, I'm sure they can find you. But I really appreciate each of you making time to join us today. So thank you so much. And just as a reminder to everyone joining us, we are doing this again tomorrow. And in case you're curious, tomorrow we have Chicago Booth, Emory, London Business School, Kellogg Northwestern, and UC Irvine joining us. So come on back tomorrow if you're interested in Masters in Management. We've got a whole different set of questions, and we'll keep kind of probing and learning more about this degree. But again, thanks so much, everyone, for joining us today. It's been a real pleasure hosting this.
Thanks, everyone. Take care. Bye.
Thank you.